Do you have a bag of green or maybe even red lentils at home and you're not quite sure what to do with it? Then this video is for you because I'm about to show you my top 10 lentil recipes. Number 1 is Madras Lentils, one of our favorites. We'll begin by chopping up an onion and a bell pepper. We'll turn on the saute function for about 5 minutes. Then I will add my pepper and onion with a little bit of water. Here's the water instead of oil, just a little bit. Then we'll add 4 cloves minced garlic. One time I had a teenager help me make a meal when she was babysitting when my kids were young, and she added the cloves of garlic whole, completely whole, to the meal. So definitely mince it. And you'll add about 2 tablespoons of grated ginger, fresh ginger. If you only have dried ginger, that's just fine too. Just tastes a little better when it is fresh. You'll add 1 teaspoon smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon cumin, 1 teaspoon salt, and 1 teaspoon of garam masala. Now I bought this off of Amazon a long time ago and I've used it probably for about 2 years now. This smells amazing. It smells so good. You can see the water has mostly evaporated. You'll add a 14-ounce can of tomato sauce. This can is only 8 ounces, so I have to add a little bit more. Now this is Madras lentils, so we'll need to add 1 cup of lentils. I'm also going to turn off the saute function, then add a can of rinsed small red beans. Now this recipe does call for chili powder, actually 2 teaspoons. I am leaving it out just because I'm afraid my kids won't eat it if it's too spicy. The last thing to add is 2 cups of veggie broth. I just use water and 2 teaspoons of the Better Than Bouillon veggie paste, but any type of veggie broth works. And we'll close the lid, cook on high for 23 minutes. That's because I have green lentils. If it was red lentils, it would just be 18 minutes. Now while that's cooking, I'm going to make up a bunch of rice in my rice cooker. All right, it is done. This recipe does not call for coconut milk, but if you wanted to, if you really like the flavor and the taste, you could add a little bit of coconut to it after it's cooked. Is it hot? It's good? What would you rate it?
8 out of 10.
An 8 out of 10.
I'm taking this.
Number 2 is lentil sloppy joes. We'll start by chopping some carrots, an onion, and a large bell pepper. Then you'll turn on the saute function and saute pepper, the onion, and carrots. We'll add water since we don't use oil to saute. And we'll add 3 cloves of garlic. Then we'll add 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste and 1 can of tomato sauce. This is actually a little bigger, so you want about 1 10 to 14-ounce can. I'm just gonna use half of that. Then you'll add 1.5 cups of green lentils. Then 2 cups of veggie broth. And I use water and this veggie broth paste. Then you'll add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. You can totally use maple syrup, but brown sugar is a lot cheaper. Then you'll add 1 to 2 teaspoons of chili powder, depending on your preference, just on how spicy you like it, or your kids like it. I'm gonna do 1.5. Then we'll add 1 teaspoon cumin and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Then we'll finish it off with 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. You can also use soy sauce. We'll mix all of that together. The lentils are already starting to cook. You'll also want to add in 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And this is completely optional, but if you have liquid smoke, add a teaspoon of liquid smoke, your favorite flavor of liquid smoke. I got mine from Amazon and it has lasted me years, literally years. And then we'll cook on high pressure for 12 minutes. Now to save money for the sloppy joes, I'm using rolls instead of actual buns. It was a lot cheaper. All right, sloppy joes are done. Now you could add ketchup and mustard or anything else, or just leave it as is. It makes a big batch and you can even freeze it for later. Delicious. Now let's try it out. The flavor's not too strong. It's really yummy. My kids will absolutely love this. And if you don't want to use roll or bread, you can actually put this on top of a sweet potato. It would be delicious. Any potato. It would be so yummy. Number 3 is slow cooker lentil soup. Let's chop up an onion. Add it to our crock pot. Chop up 4 carrots. Yes, I use my chopper for these 2. I love this chopper. Place it in your crock pot. 3 celery stalks. We'll add those into that crock pot as well. We'll add 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, 1 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon smoked paprika, some black pepper, about half a teaspoon or so, 4 cloves of garlic, 1.5 cups of green lentils, 1 can diced tomatoes, a dash of red wine vinegar, which is about a teaspoon or 2, a half a teaspoon of sugar, and 4 cups veggie broth, which, as you know, I love to do water plus my veggie paste. Now the recipe calls for a 15-ounce can of crushed tomatoes, but I don't know where you find a 15-ounce can, so I'm going to use half of this one. This is a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. Turn on high for 4 hours. Looks awesome. Plus my house is gonna smell amazing. It is done. Look how yummy. Number 4 is a snack time favorite. It's just simply roasted lentils. Preheat the oven to 425. The lentils are rinsed and drained. I'm just adding them to the pan. Now the spices, so a tiny bit of salt because they're already canned. They don't need that much salt. Paprika, cumin, chili powder. Okay, this just a little bit. A little goes a long way. Garlic powder, just for the heck of it. Some nutritional yeast. Then I use my hands, best kitchen tool I've got, to mix up all the seasoning. It smells really good. They are done. Perfect. These are crunchy. Perfect to add to a meal or just snack on throughout the day with some fruit. They're delicious, or even some tomatoes, some other carrots, vegetables. Add those beans to them and you will love it. Number 5 is lentil walnut tacos. I don't want too many leftovers, so I'm actually gonna make half of the recipe. So just double it, and I have the full recipe linked below that you can grab and look at. So I'm just gonna make half of it so that I don't have too much food. Okay, so I'm gonna take half a cup of walnuts and microwave them for about 30 seconds to get them a little bit softer and to bring out the flavor. Now let's put everything in the food processor. So you will add in your walnuts. We're gonna actually chop these up first. Close it up, chop them up. Perfect. Next, you'll add 1 cup of lentils, cooked lentils. Now, these lentils, you can buy them from a can, and if you are making the full recipe, you'll just add the 1 can of lentils, but I'm doing about half, so it's about 1 cup. And of course, if you don't have canned lentils available to you, you can always make them from dried. And then about 2 teaspoons of taco seasoning and 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. All right, let's mix that up, and then we'll have our meat. Seriously, the easiest recipe. And there you have it, taco meat. This is literally the healthiest taco meat that has ever been created. Walnuts and lentils. I don't know what's healthier than that. All right, you'll place your taco meat on your burrito or your taco, your wrap, however you want to make them. And just like regular ground beef, you're gonna add whatever toppings you used to add to your tacos. So we'll add some lettuce, some salsa, tomatoes. You can add your favorite dressing to this too, like a vegan ranch dressing. And here you go. Super simple, super easy. Tastes like tacos. It's really good. It was so easy to make, super simple. I love it. What I love about this is the flavors aren't too weird. Like my kids honestly wouldn't even know that there's lentils and walnuts in this, and they would totally eat it without like being weird about it. Hey, real quick, have you signed up for your free 1-week meal guide? If you haven't already, make sure to click on the link below where you can grab a free whole week of whole food plant-based vegan recipes. They're simple, they're delicious, they're cheap, and I even include a shopping list. So make sure to click on the link below to grab it. Number 6 is my famous lasagna soup recipe. Now this one is one of my family favorites. It's so good that I've actually showed you this recipe in multiple different videos. But today I want to show you how I make it when I don't have lasagna noodles on hand, which is more often than not. I don't love that it's really hard to find whole wheat lasagna noodles. So sometimes I just use the whole wheat noodles that I have on hand, but you do have to tweak the recipe. So I'm gonna link below the full regular recipe, but show you in today's video how you would tweak it if you don't have lasagna noodles. Because a regular box of rotini noodles or whatever noodles you have on hand is about twice as many noodles as what it calls for in the original recipe, we're just simply gonna double the recipe. But when you double it, it can burn easily. So do not saute anything in the beginning. That's the key. Don't saute the onions, just dump and then go. We'll add 1 to 2 onions chopped. Again, we're not sauteing them first. And then 8 to 10 cloves of garlic. So I'm just gonna do these minced garlic, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we'll add a fourth a cup of Italian seasoning. Now, as you notice, these recipes make a lot. That's because I have a lot of kids. So if you need to cut all of these recipes in half, feel free to do that. Next up is 2 teaspoons onion powder, 1 teaspoon of paprika. I'm running out of all my seasonings. You can tell I make all of these things regularly. Then you'll do 2 teaspoons of salt. I'm gonna add the entire small little can of tomato paste, and I opened up both ends to make it really easy to come and pull it all out. It's really cool, you gotta see this, hold on. So you just smush it out. Just push your fingers, and there you go. Take out the lid, and there you have it. Next, we add a full cup of red lentils. And then it'll be 10 cups of veggie broth. Each one of these is 5 cups, so I'll add 2 of them. That's 1 and 2. And then bear with me while I put in 10 teaspoons of this veggie bouillon paste. But again, you can just use 10 cups of veggie broth if you have it. So it's 3, I can't talk and count, 4, 5, and 10. All right, let's mix all of that together. Then we'll do 2 cups of marinara sauce. And then add 2 cups from here. 1, and usually it's the whole can. So I'll even add a little bit of water from here, add it in there, and then shake it up to get all of that sauce. Perfect. Then we need a half a cup of nutritional yeast. I'm running out of my nutritional yeast. Seriously, running out of everything today. Just enough for this video. And then about it's gonna be about a cup of canned coconut milk, because again, I'm doubling everything. I'm just gonna finish off this can. I'm using light, that works. Now we'll add in our entire box of rotini pasta. So if you are not doubling the recipe like me, you will just add half of the box. Perfect. And again, you did not saute anything. So what it does is you can see how the onions have floated up to the top. That helps to prevent burning, because there's just a lot of things that weigh down on the bottom. When you saute things and it gets really hot on the bottom, and you'll find that sometimes it will say food burn in your Instant Pot. So the easy way, if that's happening, even if you're not doubling the recipe, is just not to saute before. All right, let's cook it up. My favorite part is this recipe only takes 5 minutes. 5 minutes, although you know it takes longer than that in total, but it's quick, it's fast. It's an easy go-to. This is why I cook it so often, is because it's so fast to put together. It took me 5 minutes to put together, takes 5 minutes to cook, and it's done. The lasagna soup is done, perfect. So now we just add in some greens and some lemon juice. We'll mix that in. I might add a little bit more. There we go. 2 handfuls of spinach, and then the juice of a lemon. There we go. Super yummy, still soupy, but you see, it's definitely doable even without lasagna noodles. And there's so much food, I'm even gonna add more spinach. I think there's plenty of room for it. Number 7 is one of our family favorites. It is Lentil Dahl. This recipe calls for red lentils, but Dahl is just the name for split legumes. So you can also use split yellow peas instead. Now, if you're going to cook this in the Instant Pot, I would suggest using split yellow peas because they handle better in the Instant Pot, where red lentils are so yummy, but will turn into mush when you cook them in the Instant Pot. So we're gonna cook this over the stove. You will start by water sauteing 2 onions and 4 cloves of garlic. While that's sauteing, I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of minced ginger. Next, we'll add 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of paprika. This one's smoked, but any type of paprika works. 1 teaspoon of coriander, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of garam masala. Oh my goodness, these spices are amazing. Look at that. We'll mix all that together, let it cook for a second, and then we'll add in our veggie broth. I'm gonna deglaze the pan with a little bit of water. Oh, smells heavenly here. Next, we'll add 2 cups of red lentils. If you can wash these, great. I actually need to buy a fine strainer. I don't have a good strainer right now, but ideally you would wash your lentils. So it's 2 cups lentils, 4 cups of veggie broth. And I'm just using 4 cups water with 4 teaspoons of the Better Than bouillon. Next, you'll add some petite diced tomatoes. You can also just place, chopped tomatoes in there too. I like the flavor of canned tomatoes. And to curb some of that acidity, we'll add just 2 teaspoons of coconut sugar, or any type of sugar that you have on hand. Coconut sugar is really light. It's not super sweet. It just gives enough sweetness to bring out the flavors. You'll turn down the heat and let this simmer for about 8 to 10 minutes covered. Okay, it has been about 8 minutes and the lentils are all cooked through, and it's time to turn that heat down super low and finish it off with a cup of coconut milk. Now, this is coconut milk from a can, but if you want to keep it lower fat, you can actually use unsweetened coconut milk in a box. You could even use any type of plant milk you like, but this coconut milk from a can is going to make it really creamy. It's up to you. It's up to you. It just depends on your goals. My kids love this dish, and children need more fat than adults. So if your goal is to lose weight, then maybe a lower fat coconut milk option. If this is to feed your kids, use the canned coconut milk. We'll let that simmer for about a minute and then it's ready to serve. Yum. All right, we will finish it off with some salt and pepper to taste. I'm just gonna add a little bit more salt. And you definitely don't wanna skip out on the pepper. Because it has turmeric in there, your body will be able to absorb all of the benefits from the turmeric as long as it's paired with pepper. So make sure you add in some black pepper. To serve, you'll garnish it with juice of half of a lemon or lime and some cilantro or parsley. This recipe is such a favorite of our family. I actually normally double the recipe for my family of 8, and everyone loves it. And you will serve this over rice. Number 8 is lentil stuffing. Now, don't let stuffing fool you. You can eat stuffing any day of the year, not just on Thanksgiving, but it is a great swap for the typical sausage stuffing on Thanksgiving. To make this super simple and less overwhelming, we'll start the prep work the day before. Before you go to bed, you'll want to cube about 8 to 9 slices of whole wheat bread and then leave them overnight so that they can dry out. And if you're not using canned lentils, you'll want to cook your lentils in either veggie broth or salt water so that they are also ready for your stuffing. You can cook your lentils over the stove or in the Instant Pot, whatever you choose and works for you. I like to set it and forget it, so that's why I use the Instant Pot. You can also chop 1 onion for the stuffing so it's ready to go. And the last thing we'll prep for the stuffing is chopping some celery. This is 2 stalks of celery. You'll set your oven to 350. Then we'll add our onions and the celery to our pan with some water. The water is used in place of oil because we're not only doing dairy-free, we're also doing oil-free. Let that cook on high until the onions become translucent. Once you see some browning, you'll just want to add a little bit more water to deglaze the pan. Once the onions are cooked, I do 3 cups of water with 3 teaspoons of this Better Than Bouillon vegetable base. While that is boiling, we'll add the spices, which is about 3/4 teaspoon of ground sage, and then about 1/2 teaspoon of fennel. That's just to get that sausagey flavor. We'll then add 1 tablespoon of flaxseed meal to thicken everything up just like an egg would do. Next, we'll add about 2.5 cups of cooked lentils. This is about 1/2 of a bag, so what will make this super hearty. And it's time to put everything together. You'll add these dried, cubed pieces of wheat bread to your pan. Again, this was about 9 slices. Then you'll add your lentil mixture on top. It's nice and thick, it's not too watery. We don't want this to just turn into mush. It smells really good. And we mix everything around. Now, I cooked my lentils in salt water, so they were pretty salty, which is great because otherwise it will make the flavor pretty bland if you don't have enough flavor in the lentils already. So just keep that in mind. Perfect. It is ready to place in the oven for 45 minutes. That lentil mixture is so good. It's just so good on its own. Can't wait for you to try it. After 20 minutes of cooking, you'll open this and mix it around so that no part gets soggy and it all kind of gets a little toasted. Now, to liven up the stuffing, I just chopped up some spinach and I'm gonna mix it in just so it doesn't look dead, you know? Totally optional. You can also add in some pomegranate seeds just for some color. There we go. Now it looks festive. Okay, let's taste the stuffing. I love the spices. I love the sage, I love the fennel. I also love that you don't even notice that most of this is actually lentils and not bread. This is great. Number 9 is simply gnocchis with lentils. You can really easily add lentils to pretty much any type of marinara sauce, and they can be red or green lentils. Let me show you how you put it together. We'll start the oven at 350. And we'll take our gnocchis and place them on a pan. You can boil gnocchis. I actually just like to bake them. I like them a little more solid and not as slimy as what happens when they are boiled. But either way, sometimes at the dollar store you can find the whole wheat variety, but at my dollar store today, it was not available. We'll put these in the oven for about 20 minutes. Now let's boil the lentils. About half of the bag. Add some salt and this awesome no salt seasoning from the dollar store. It is great. So I added the salt plus the no salt seasoning. Just add a little bit there. Next up, we'll prep the veggies. So this is just the frozen veggies. I have 2 bags. These have thawed enough that I can just pull them apart, but you could also just cut them apart. You can season these however you wish, although I love that no salt seasoning, so I'll use that again here. Use some salt. And we'll put it in the air fryer on 400 for about 10 minutes. Pinto beans are done. Veggies are done. Yum. Gnocchis are done. Crunchy on the outside and chewy in the middle. We'll now add some pasta sauce to the pan. Warm everything up. We'll add 2 cans. This is actually oil-free pasta sauce, which is awesome. Next, we'll add in our drained and cooked lentils. And then last but not least, once everything is warm, we'll add in our gnocchis. Now you could just keep the veggies as a side, but for the heck of it, I'm actually just gonna add it in since there's so much sauce here and we'll add a lot of flavor to those veggies. I like that they're still already cooked, so I'm not adding in a lot of water as if I would have just added them in, still frozen. Perfect. And then you have a 1-pot meal. Let's try it out. I love how chewy the gnocchis are. They're not soggy. I love the lentils. It feels like kind of like a beef texture. It's really yummy. That sauce is so good. This is awesome. This is really yummy. I'm full. A lot of food.
It's delicious.
And number 10 is grain bowls with lentils. Now I made this while I was camping to show you how simple, delicious, and easy it can be. Grain bowls are one of my go-to camping meals because they're so versatile. So we have some brown rice cooking, and then I made some lentils with onions, a little bit of leftover salsa we had, and then some veggie bouillon paste. This veggie bouillon, better than bouillon, is everything. Then Italian seasoning, and then just some water. All right, how's it taste?
It tastes like meat with a different texture.
Tastes like meat with a different texture. All right, I'm gonna cut up tomatoes for the toppings. There's 1 onion in here, about a tablespoon or 2 of Italian seasoning, and I use about half of a jar of salsa. 2 tablespoons of veggie bouillon. A big spoonful of garlic is what went in there as well. I don't even know how many lentils there were. It was like half a bag. I don't really measure when I'm camping. And a little bit of cumin. All right, I'm cutting up a mango. I'll also cut up some celery and put out some corn and then make some guac. Super simple, whatever toppings you have on hand works great. Okay, so we have the brown rice, then the lentils, then the toppings, celery, we have tomatoes, corn, mangoes, some homemade guac, and leftover pasta salad. If you love this video, make sure you watch my top 10 tofu recipes or my top 10 salad dressing recipes. I know you will love them as well.